So, what timing? Yesterday, it just so happened that I was doing a 20-year anniversary watch party for the Silent Hill movie that I'm a huge fan of. So, right before the stream, I just so happened to see that there were not one, but two behind the scenes specials that I wanted to cover for the Mind's Eye Inquisition. And it just so happened to be narrated by the director, Christophe Gans. So, hey, I managed to do the watch party just because I wanted to be able to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of a. I'm glad that Silent Hill, the game, oh, I'm sorry, the movie, has gotten its fair share of fandom in the last 20 years. But I also wanted to do it because it was perfect timing because it coincided with the release of the upcoming sequel that comes out this Thursday. So what better way to do so than to do a reaction video to not one, but two specials, two behind the scenes covering this upcoming sequel. So the first video that we're going to be looking at deals with behind the scenes of the adaptation. I believe they're going to go into detail over why Christophe Gans decided now was the time to finally come back and have his own return to Silent Hill. And the second one we're going to be looking at are the creatures. So I'm very much looking forward to that. As we all know, one of the many things that sets Silent Hill apart from other horror franchises, other horror games, is its cerebral approach to horror and how the monsters are manifestations of your own inner demons and turmoil, which I absolutely love. So let's take a look, and let's play it by ear. I'll see how I go about with this particular edition. It's two separate videos, and I'm always conscious of friggin' YouTube censorship. So hopefully I can play the videos without much issues, but I want to be able to, if necessary, pause, give my thoughts, and then we will continue on. So let me just pull this up and we can kick this off. I just want to make sure that the sound is audible. And here we go. I'm so excited for this.
Know that Silent Hill 2 was very different of the first game.
The Silent Hill video games are important because they're kind of a cultural phenomenon around the world.
Okay, let's make sure that... Good, getting sound on the stream. So let me just switch headsets. Do apologize, I am a one-man operation. Okay. All right, let's return to this.
Silent Hill has a huge fan base. Christophe,
yes, it does.
Somebody that they can relate to and understand, and he's a gamer himself, and I think
that's always great when you do have someone who is a gamer that can have that extra depth and appreciation for what it is that he's attempting to adapt, so that he can have the appreciation from a fan, but have the expertise as a director to be able to know how to adapt what it is that he's seeing both in story, character, and the monsters to the screen. From the small screen of video games to the big screen, to the silver screen of films. And in a time where there have been so many adaptations, and I'm not going to name he who shall not be named from the Resident Evil movies, in a time where so many people flaunt and outright lie about passion, it's good to see someone with talent. And I got a reminder of that watching the Silent Hill movie yesterday, rewatching it after 20 years. And man, this guy has such a keen eye for it. And again, I'm excited to see what it is that he's had mulling over in his mind for the last 20 years that he wants to adapt to not just adapt another Silent Hill movie, but you got to understand, it's crazy to think that after all this time, after all these sequels with the video games, and after all the time that we waited for a sequel to the movie, we are only now, so many years after, not just the Silent Hill movie, but the original Silent Hill game, we are only now getting an adaptation of Silent Hill 2, which is considered the greatest Silent Hill to this day.
That there's nobody better poised to bring it to the modern screen.
Christophe is really faithful and respectful to Silent Hill. We had...
Yeah, and that's another aspect to really acknowledge with what it is that he's bringing to the table, because he doesn't want to be... It's not a cash grab for him. He doesn't want to just use this as a platform for something else, or any attempt to tell... Obviously, you want to be able to tell your own story, but he's not attempting to hijack the story that we all know and love and want to see an adaptation to.
A tremendous chance to work with Konami very closely.
The story of Silent Hill 2 is actually a free adaptation of an old Greek mythology story.
Yeah, this I thought was pretty interesting, that he goes into such depth with his impression, his take on the material, that he goes even into mythology. And I spoke yesterday that the religious aspect of Silent Hill from the first 1 or 2 games and even the third game, it can get bogged down in the video games, which is why he simplified it to just religious fanaticism from a Christian perspective. But I am glad that he sees a tragic depth to Silent Hill 2 and is willing to reach into something like mythology in order to get that tragic component out for the rest of us to be able to see and enjoy.
Story, which is the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, the story of a poet going back to hell to take back his beloved bride, Eurydice. It happened that Orpheus has been adapted by one of my very favorite French director named Jean Cocteau, and now I think it was logical to adapt Orpheus again, and I did it through that new Silent Hill film. Yeah,
the fact that he's able to add that touch to it, and it's not just a name drop, it's not just a reference, but something that's applicable and artistic. I've seen it so many times where people, for instance, and I really hate to bring him up, but Paul W.S. Anderson mentioning that, and you probably would never make this connection, but the partial inspiration for when Paul W.S. Anderson adapted the first AVP movie, get this, was at the Mountains of Madness. Not only is the AVP movie so far removed from something that has been inspirational and classic and iconic to horror, whether people acknowledge it or not. I'm referring to H.P. Lovecraft's novel. But would you even make that connection on your own if I didn't mention it? Conversely, you can see how it is with the description that the director just made, how something like that Greek tragedy can be applied to here. And if I'm not mistaken, no, I'm sorry, I thought that there were sexual connotations to to Orpheus. No, that's a different Greek legend. But still, you can appreciate that Christophe Gans would add that extra layer of depth, quality, and artistry. And that's when you know that you're dealing with somebody, not just because he's able to reference this or that. Because I've heard that, what's his name? Zack Snyder from the DC movies was able to name drop and reference different types of sources in literature and film. But unless you're able to adapt what it is that you're referring to in an interesting way, it's not going to matter. So I, again, appreciate what it is that Christophe Gans is applying here, and I'm curious as to see how that'll come across in the film. Oh boy, here we go. The smoke, the monsters, the the capillary
That was a good surprise
bleeding.
when the first film was released is that he pleased very much to Akira Yamaoka, the
Oh,
original
yes.
creator of the game. The appreciation
The man himself.
of the video game has changed a lot since 2006, which was basically
And I've always said it. You know you're dealing with a quality franchise when one of the aspects that you care so that is so intrinsic, is so hardwired into the iconography around said series is the score, the soundtrack, the music. In fact, even though I liked Silent Hill Downpour, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first game that did not have Akira Yamaoka in the score. So to me, that's it. It really says something that Silent Hill is recognized for one of its key ingredients being the music, the what it is that sets the tone. And I've said for the longest time, like, really think about how horror in general, the genre, when it comes to film, has gotten so far removed from iconic scores. I mean, those music stings like Jaws, like Beetlejuice, like Halloween. Yo, when you hear it, you know what it is that you're watching. You know what that music applies to. And we've just gone so far for far too long without that intrigue, that level of adaptation, that other key ingredient to film, that it just serves as just another calling card that can, if done right, if applied correctly, can make whatever it is that you're adapting, whatever film, what have you, into something memorable, something that it's just an added layer that will add to the mood, will add to the tone, and just makes it that much more memorable. So I'm happy that Akira Yamaoka is back for this.
the date of the release of the first film.
Oh, God. Yeah.
15 years after, you can feel that now the people know that it could exist adaptation of adult-oriented video game. The second.
Oh my God, the scene that we just saw, the nightmare, it's just pure nightmare fuel. It's scenes like that I feel, I knew that we were in the hands of a madman and a genius with the first film, and I'm of course talking about the director Christophe Gans, and that's why, mind you, that is what he was able to apply to the first movie. Like, honestly, guys, am I the only one wonder? And I don't want to overhype this movie, but Jesus, if you remember just the terrifying imagery from the first film, how can you not be excited for the sequel and what this guy has up his sleeve? Especially with the ending that you just saw with Alessa, what was her name? Yeah, Alessa Gillespie returning from her immobilized state, having been burned as a supposed witch, to exact vengeance on the town that did this to her, that tortured her. So you have to wonder what Christophe Gans has in store for the follow-up, especially after 20 years of being able to work on his ideas for the sequel.
Game is the most adult of all the Silent Hill.
Agreed. I had partially cut that off, but the director just said that he mentioned his excitement over adapting Silent Hill 2 because it's the most adult Silent Hill of the series.
It was the atmosphere that I remembered about the game. I remember being quite immersed in that when I played it. I remember this very sort of melancholic atmosphere that appealed to the sort of emotional teenage angst in me at that age. That's what stayed with me from playing it. And
so usually, and it's unfortunate that in this day and age that something like a dour, gray washout scene can be considered somewhat cliche because we've seen so many people use and abuse it, that look and feel to it, that it is unfortunate that it has lost its luster. But I'm hoping that And again, I'm coming off one day from having rewatched the first movie. I have to hope that this movie will return that aesthetic so that you recognize why it is that that gray washout where there are no vibrant colors and everything is rust and everything is dust and everything is grayed out and there's no color or vibrance. I'm hoping that that aesthetic can return so as to reaffirm its position over why it is so key to set the mood.
I guess what sort of attracted me in this film.
I want fans to have the same feeling I had when I watched it 17 years ago in the theater. It's so thrilling. It's so much fun to see a horror movie with an audience in a theater.
Couldn't have said it better. All right, so this is the first of the behind the scenes. This dealt with the adaptation for the movie. So, yeah, a lot to cover there. And again, I'm thrilled that there was an understanding that if Silent Hill was going to enjoy a renaissance, and luckily the last two games have been well received to the point that the Silent Hill 2 remake has inspired Konami to make a Silent Hill 1 remake. We're coming off of Silent Hill F recently, and it was such an inspired choice to not only make another Silent Hill film, but the fact that the powers that be saw the wisdom behind bringing back this director. Again, top notch. I'm ecstatic that they thought of this, and I'm ecstatic that this director, who had such a keen eye, passion, and more importantly, talent to pull it off. It was such a great decision to include this as part of the comeback for Silent Hill, a series that, my God, it had been dormant for, correct me if I'm wrong, it had been dormant for in excess of a decade. I remember when I did my Silent Hill Downpour playthrough, I believe in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. 2022, because I don't think it was 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure it was 3 years ago. But yeah, that by that time, that was played at, well, let me see. Let me check real quick. I just want to be sure, because I'm pretty sure that I played Silent Hill Downpour as a 10-year anniversary stream. But my point is that it had just been so long since we had seen anything from Silent Hill that, it came out in 2012, so I would have played in 2022. So yeah, it had been just such a long time. So the fact that we're in the midst of a resurgence or renaissance for this. And this isn't, I mentioned yesterday when I was rewatching the film, to me, it's not just a great horror franchise. It's not just a great horror gaming series, but with its adaptation, with its crossover into film, Pyramid Head is a great horror monster, as well as the nurses, as well as pretty much any of the creatures that go bump in the mind with this series. So it was such an inspired choice. I'm so glad that they thought to make a Silent Hill movie sequel to join in on the fun that fans are experiencing with the renaissance, with the return of the series, with Silent Hill F, with Silent Hill 2 remake, with the upcoming Silent Hill 1 remake. I mean, it is a great time to be a Silent Hill fan. I'm ecstatic about 2 days from now, on Thursday, when I go to do my precaution, my movie preview, on the way to the theater, and certainly my aftershock, my reaction video upon returning from the cinema. So now let's continue and look at the second behind the scenes that I have in store for the creatures. And let's hope this works. Okay, perfect.
This film is the adaptation of a PS2 game. Some of the design of the creature were limited to the PS2 performance in that time. We had to adapt some of the creature.
They are the same creature, but they're coming back slightly different.
I like that they have Patrick Tatopoulos, I believe his name is. So the nurses and Pyramid, or I should call him by his proper name, Red Pyramid thing, will always get the lion's share of the attention, and they are the mascots of the series. However, Lying Figure, who during the filming of the first movie was called the Trojan Man, because he looked like someone bound within a condom. This movie, this franchise really is spoiled for choice when it comes to its roster of monsters. So yeah, it's kind of understood we're going to get the nurses and we're going to get the Red Pyramid thing, but I'm also looking forward to what else is in store, especially because you have to imagine that there are other monsters that take place in Silent Hill 2, and 2, what other monsters could the designers or the director have in mind?
I started again drawing those things with no limitation. Why? Because those beings are so much in my mind, in my soul. I could just bring things loosely, creatively, but spontaneously like that. And because I draw with sketch, I don't draw with 3D. It's a very spontaneous process. It's a pen, a pencil, and a piece of paper. It's a completely loose process.
Yeah, and that's another thing. The spontaneity. I'm hoping that the budget is there. My hope is that, and I'm talking about, of course, the practical effects, the practical monster creature effects. My hope is that not just the budget is there to pull off these monstrosities, these inner demons, but also to show some spontaneity. If you're going to adapt any of the monsters from Silent Hill 2, my hope is that we can see some level of the designers providing their own spin on whatever monsters, so that it's not too familiar. Maybe in the look, maybe in the movement, maybe in the abilities that they have. So here's, oh God, where we see those, what are they called? Creepers? These roach-looking critters that have human faces. Oh my God. I'll never forget the feeling that I had. I did a double take when I first saw them in the first Silent Hill in theaters. I turned to my friend, I'm like, is that what I thought? He goes, yeah. Because I thought when it got turned over on its back and it's screaming at Sybil Shepherd, I was like, is that a human face on a bug? And my friend was like, yeah. I was like, oh my God, this movie is sick.
Of course, all this adaptation of the monster have been approved by the people of Konami. It was important that they were
there we go.
With the new design. We are working on their franchise.
Oh my God. Can I go back? Can I catch that?
With the new design. We are working on their...
Look at that. Oh my God. I mean, bugs in general, but Jesus Christ. I mean, yo. I would take one look at that and be like, oh, and it looks like they don't have eyes, so there's just like fold over their faces of these insects, but it's like fleshy kind of folds. Very creepy stuff that we're dealing with here.
Their franchise, we are working on their property, and we are working on their...
There we go.
This is world treasure.
Oh my God.
I kept one of the main ideas
What the hell?
Film, which is that all the creatures are played by dancers and acrobats. So
Amen. And that was such an inspired choice. And when I was doing my research for the trivia of the first Silent Hill movie, that's one thing that I came across that I believe that I knew that. I had already known that. the director had elected to use acrobats and dancers to play the majority of the monsters from Silent Hill, the movie. And that really came across with the movement of the nurses. Oh my God, their twitchiness and their unnerving look. It's one thing for them to appear monstrous and evil, but bruh, it is like their movements is what's the cracking of the bones, and the fact that they were, you know, scantily dressed nurses, and their faces looked like rotted potato sacks. I mean, and again, the movement of them, the fact that they have this, like, man, what would you even call it? It's like a grayish, greenish, but color washout look to their skin, and yet pale. Oh my God. So all of that just combines in concert to just make the director really gets the most out of each of these monsters, and I applaud him for that.
The monsters on this film are played by real person with physic gift. They have created
Look at that.
a level of strangeness and harmony into the monstrosity of these things, which I feel is actually very disturbing.
Without question, dude. I mean, my God. And we got to see a lot of that with the nurses, as previously mentioned. So, again, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what else he has in store, seeing what else Christophe Gans is going to provide us. The movements that you get out of selecting dancers to fill that role, to fill that movement, and the way the choreography. And you just saw some of it. You just saw how inhumanly that they're able to move, twisting and turning onto their backs. It's almost like their movement is almost that of a serpent. You know, we just saw the dancer just now. Let me see if I can move back and catch that. There we go. A little bit more.
Gift. They have created a level of strangeness and harmony into the monstrosity of these things, which
without
I think
question
is actually very disturbing.
Yeah, man, it's just the level of detail and thought put into this ahead of time. I mean, honestly, how can you not? And I'm the type of person with these movies. I mean, obviously, I'm doing a behind the scenes. I always love to know the details, peek behind the curtain. I always like to see how the pizza gets made. To me, it's so fascinating, and it definitely is encouraging that they care enough to make these decisions, these inspired choices. They're not just throwing some stuntman into a costume and, you know, just have at it, do you. It is greatly appreciated that this director cares enough to make these choices and to be able to deliver something that's truly memorable. And hey, many of us have seen the first one already, so it's great to me that we have this level of unnervingness that goes into this type of execution for the film and its monsters.
Able to learn choreography and move their bodies in a way that maybe an actor can't. They have a language that I don't have. And it really is terrifying being chased down a dark hallway by a group of monsters moving that way. I think
Again, if in case you don't know, the movement of the nurses was not only like twitchy and choreographed in great detail in the first Silent Hill film, but the reason why the movements look so unnatural is that, if I'm not mistaken, the nurses played their roles and their movements backwards. So they were moving backwards, and then the tape, the recording was played forward. That's why it looks so unnatural, that the way that they were moving, and it just makes it scarier. It gives it that like psychological edge where there's something other than, you know, undead nurses or whatever they are. There's something not quite right, not quite human with their movements.
I did have nightmares for a couple of days after shooting those scenes.
The big advantage to have a real actor or dancer, stunt performer on set playing the creature is like, for example, at the Armless, you basically have everything there and you just like need to make it less human. So we sped it up and like make it way thinner, painted out some stuff, and that
Yeah.
basically already gave us the final creature.
That's what I mean, man. It's just they're not, and believe me, the designs for all of these monsters is great, but it's just the fact that they have that added touch. They have the eye to see how to make these as creepy as possible. The lying figure, or I believe they call them the armless man in the movie, they just seem so gaunt. The movement is restricted, obviously, with the arms, but also just the legs. I mean, you saw what that looked like. It doesn't look human. It doesn't look real, and yet it's coming at you. Look at that. Just the gauntness of the legs and how they're spread apart at the knees, or I should say, they spread apart at the knees, and it looks so frightening. It looks terrifying. And the fact that the calves are so thin, and then you add the movement to that, it's truly the stuff of nightmares. And again, we've only seen we've seen the 4 monsters that we already know from the game. We have the creeper bugs, the red pyramid thing, the nurses, and the lying figure, otherwise known as the armless man. So, for someone like me, I'm wondering what other curveballs does Christophe Gans have in store for us?
Stuff, and that basically already gave us the final creature.
Oh god, and they spew that, yeah, that acid oil.
One of the things that appealed to me most is the use of practical effects.
Yes.
Prosthetics and real creatures that are real and tangible. I just find it so appealing.
The man of the hour. Yeah, and seemingly, if you look at the, not just the helmet, the pyramid helmet, but it's not scarification, but it looks more like decay in the arms. You can tell that the design has been augmented, has been improved from the 2006 film, and it's touches like that I'm not gonna lie, I'm absolutely going to be looking for in my watch of the movie. And I'll try to enjoy the movie for as much as I can, but I'm so interested in seeing little details like that, like what it is that I can pick apart as far as improvements and changes that have been made and learned since the first film.
When I had to direct the sequence with the nurses, it was amazing to see all these great dancers under the direction of the choreographer of the film, Roberto Campanella, who was also the original choreographer of the first film. I always try to find beauty into the horror and find horror into the beauty, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do in this film and in most of my films.
All right, so there you have it. I hope you enjoyed my reaction to these behind the scenes. I definitely wanted to start this as my official marketing, my own marketing, I suppose, for the release of the movie. I'm going to be doing my standard precaution preview video before I head out to the theater, and my reaction video, my aftershock, once I return. So it's going to take me a little longer. It's going to be a wider range from when I do the preview as well as the aftershock, just because it's looking like I'm going to have to drive out slightly to go see the movie. I don't see any advanced screenings or any screenings at all at the AMC near me. In case you guys don't know, I actually live a couple blocks away from the AMC in my town, and the fact that it is an AMC and it's so close to me, I've always been spoiled in that regard, especially now for this addition to my channel, the precaution and the aftershock. So I'm going to be doing that this upcoming Thursday and around 5 o'clock my time. So now let's take a look at what we have on the scene and upcoming. So, as far as coming attractions, as I just mentioned, this Thursday, I'm going to do my Return to Silent Hill precaution as well as Aftershock. And I'm going to be working on my Lee Cronin The Mummy trailer gut reaction. I'm really excited about what it is that I've seen. There are a couple of observations that I want to make, points of intrigue that I noticed about the film, or at least about the trailer. This, and I've known for some time that, and Lee Cronin has stated himself that this is not going to be the usual type of mummy movie that you're used to. I saw one really stupid take beforehand discussing how, this trailer doesn't have any of the usual tropes. It's like, well, you dummy, it's not supposed to, and it's been marketed in a way where it has been explicit about not having those, and it came from a source that should have known better, but that's for another time, I suppose. So now I'd like to talk about what is on the scene for the Mind's Eye Inquisition and the Greater Mind's Eye. So it's been a pretty busy couple of days. This past Thursday, I did a 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple movie preview, which I call my precaution, as well as my reaction video in the form of my Aftershock. Now, that was Thursday. This past Sunday, it wasn't the only zombie piece of entertainment that I was into 28 years later. On Sunday, I did a Resident Evil 9 Requiem showcase overcast. So it was about a 13-minute video where they're discussing the game that's going to be the anniversary game. Plenty of anniversaries lately. The anniversary game that's going to be coming out at the end of next month. So I did my overcast discussing that particular showcase, as well as my thoughts on Resident Evil 9 in general. Just yesterday, as mentioned throughout this live stream, I did my Silent Hill 20-year anniversary watch party, which I highly recommend you guys take a watch to. You can just use me as your second screen experience when you're watching the Silent Hill movie, which I highly recommend in preparation for the upcoming sequel. So that's pretty much it for me, and I hope that everyone will tune in this Thursday for my precaution as well as my Aftershock. I've been Inkarnate, reminding you, I ain't just a big deal, I'm the real deal. If you're resigned to your fate, time to subscribe to your fears.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.